Hello and welcome to Budget in Focus. In this edition of the program, I have with me Minister of Labor, Joseph Hamilton, as we talk about what his allotment is for the 2021 budget, but more importantly, some of the initiatives that will come out of the allocation and how the people of this country will benefit from the process. Minister, it's my pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for being here.
That's right. All right, so we begin with your ministry, which really speaks to a lot of work. The Ministry of Labor, its tentacles have got to span far and wide and taking into consideration every other sector. This is how far stretched your ministry is, primarily because we're dealing with people. And when you deal with people, you deal with labor. And so you, to date, have been allotted just about approximately $900 million that would be, but this too can add up as we go on because of the extensive work that you've got to do. So let's get right off the bat, Minister, and we begin with one of the issues that you've been dealing with for quite some time, and this is working with teams but training as well.
Let me start out by saying last year we trained, that is Board of Industrial Training. And firstly, the ministry, we have 6 technical departments.
Okay.
Board of Industrial Training is one. And last year we trained 2,000 students. This year we plan to train 5,000 students.
Wow.
And through the length and breadth of Guyana, because when I got to the ministry, my sense was that the BIT was more so coastal kind of Georgetown, Region 4 activity. Minimally, any attention was paid to the hinterland regions, the riverine communities. And so we have firstly expanded the program. And the first thing we did to ensure that the people in hinterland regions can benefit is to appoint regional Board of Industrial Training officers. Because you would know that it is impossible for people who live in Ishalton, who wants training to be done, young people, women, single parent, for them to come out to Georgetown to have an engagement. And now with the officer in the region, they can sit down and put the program together, work out all the logistics, how it will happen. And that will be happening in all the regions. We have appointed 2 Board of Industrial Training officers in every region. You know, the regions are subdivided into 2 subdivisions.
Correct.
And so properly, if we have an officer just at Mabaruma, he really can't serve Port Kaituma and Matthews Ridge. And vice, if we look at Region 9, same issues. Let them properly cannot service Ishalton. So we have to take into consideration that, so that all people, wherever they are, all young people, all retirees, all females who want a skill, they can participate in training. So the first type of training is training persons and give them a skill who don't have a skill. But importantly, we have thousands of people in this country, they have a skill, but they lack certification and accreditation.
Right.
And my fear is, that's why we have to deal with this matter as a nation, that when all the construction and infrastructure work starts in this country, doing all the big buildings and so, a contractor is likely to bring a person into this country to put down toilet bowls, because his contract might say, you have to use an accredited and certified plumber. And therefore, we have to have all our people in every skill set accredited and certified. That is lacking as I speak to you. People with all the skill they have, there's no accreditation.
And this is a major problem because it's been happening for quite a long time, where you've got people working, but they're generally the lame and the laborers. So they're working at that bottom level, not having the opportunity to benefit further up.
Right. And even with the skill they have, they might have, look, we have electricians who are good electricians, but because they're not certified, when they get a job, they have to give a man $200,000 just to ensure he can go to Ministry of Public Works because he is a certified electrician.
Right.
So already they have lost. And he now managed to get the certificate for them to certify the building before GPL could come in there. So we have to change that to ensure that all our people in every skill set, they're accredited and certified. The TVET Council is accredited and certified in the Caribbean TVET. So it allows for all our people to get a job in any Caribbean country because they will be certified and accredited. So that is what that's another type of training. We have to train them and bring them to that place.
Right. Let's talk about the what you have found. Now we know we have to do that, but how deep is the need? How large, how dire is this need in the hidden in the far-flung areas, the hinterland regions? Because we know the city you've got the technical institutes. I think New Amsterdam has got its own. I think there's one in Essequibo, but those far-flung areas are really left all alone. How big is this need?
Well, I'll give you my experience. As much as you spoke to Region 6 there. Look, Region 6, they have 3 technical institutes there. Berbice, the BTI, you have the Upper Quarantine, and you have the Gaisuku Training Center.
Right.
But you know what, my good friend? In my interaction with the business chamber up there, they said to me they have dozens of tractors and other equipment combined that cannot be repaired because there's no mechanic to repair them.
Wow.
So something is missing there. Region 1, the manganese company is about to start stripping. So they will need a lot of heavy-duty equipment operators.
Yes.
They can't find any. They have to import from Linden, Region 10. So recognizing that, I have put a steering committee together to plan for a national conference, hopefully before the end of the first quarter. Because presently we don't know what to train.
What we have, correct. Oh yeah.
We don't know what we have. Look, Linden Technical Institute, I suspect they're still training people there to get employment in the bauxite company. Not recognizing Region 10 and Linden is not a bauxite town anymore. It has moved on. It is not 70s and 80s. So you have to tailor the funds to do ICT type training, tourism training. And those are the type of things we have to do. So the conference, 2-day conference, we will sit together, all TVET and technical training institutes, regardless whether they're public or private sector.
Okay.
Oil company and everybody. And we sit down and map a national strategy so that we can know deliberately in the next 5 years how many of whatever skill sets we have to train. The next 10 years, how many we have to train. To complement that, we will start a labor assessment so that the Department of Labor will go out there and engage employers so that we have an understanding how many journalists we have in this country. Presently, we don't know how many we need to have based on how the country will develop. We don't know that. So the assessment will help for us to plan going forward where the deficit lies, what are the skill sets we really need to train and bring up. We might be overtraining in some areas.
That too.
So those 2 things will be done in the first and second quarter. We will ensure that by the second quarter we have this assessment that is for the formal economy. We still need to know about the informal economy because I believe 75% of the people who are out there by the market selling, they have some skill.
Some skill, right.
How do we bring them back into the world of work where their skills can be utilized? So those are things we have to do.
That's right. All right, so we've just paused a little bit on the Board of Industrial Training, how massive this particular program is. I wanted to spend some time on occupational health and safety, which is another area that is close to your heart and one that you've been working on for a while. Well,
you know, the thing is, I like to start this conversation by making this point to all Guyana. We have 2 choices. Either we continue to go wake houses and play dominoes and cards, and we attend funerals, or we fix this problem. Because last year, 32 persons died in work-related accidents. Since I became minister, in my first 5 months, 12 persons died. I had to issue 12 press releases. And already for the year, 4 persons have already died, work-related incident. So, to help to ensure we deal with this matter, the government, via the ministry, we will increase occupation health and safety officers from 9. Imagine 9 persons the previous government had superintending this whole country in this matter, while people are dying in the pits and dying on construction site. That would increase threefold. 30 officers we will have. We are already reviewing applications and all that kind of thing. And also we would have, in every region, we will have 2 occupation health and safety officers that will review workplace and to ensure that people can go home safe to their families every afternoon. Importantly too, the culture has been whereby it is only private sector the system paid attention to. My instructions are, the law is for public and private sector. You must come at NCN to look to see how if workers work in condition without fear or favor. And I don't know, at government agencies, you might have a tyrant running the place. Labor relations are terrible, right? Somebody think they're an emperor. We have to go there. And they have already started our ministry to engage. Of course, people are alarmed because they think this is a new thing. Hamilton apparently gone cuckoo. But this is not a new thing. This should have been happening all the time. We look at all agencies. And one of the things is, you know, the law says, and NCN, if you all don't have it, since I live here, you all should do it. Every workplace, once you have more than 19 employees, you should have a safety and health committee.
We do have one here.
Okay, well, it's a good thing. You're one that is ahead.
Yes.
And whatever help is needed, we are prepared to help. But the point I'm making, if we go around, I would say 80% of workplaces don't have health and safety. So that is something that we're helping places to establish so that people are protected in workplaces.
Isn't that frightening, Minister, given the fact that sometimes people have gotten so accustomed to doing things one way and when being spoken of and probably demonstrated how dangerous it is or how potentially dangerous it is, the practice that has become, you know, the regular run-of-the-mill, and that they sometimes object to it, not realizing that safety is of, you know, top importance.
Yes. The thing is, I think education was lacking. So we have to do a PR and communications program to edify the population. Because we're coming from a place, us Guyanese, where we don't have a safety culture. Some people, pockets of people have tried, businesses and so, but I'm talking about in totality.
Right.
We don't have a safety culture. So we now have to edify both employer and employees. Because I've engaged employees who said, I spent thousands of dollars to buy the gear for the guy. And the guy says, head is too hot.
Yeah,
you can't raise the helmet, wear the helmet,
right.
The jacket, the suit.
They make excuses, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
And the boots, the steel toe is too heavy for his foot. And so we have a situation where we have men are on 6-story buildings, walking over 2x4s, barefoot or with slippers on, no harness, no safety gear. And some of the guys are brilliant enough to be seeping at girls downstairs, not understanding
from the distance and the dangers.
The dangers. So we have to do a comprehensive PR and communication program to edify this nation, all and sundry, whether it be public sector or private sector, because I can tell you about some frightening things I have seen at public sector agencies.
Okay.
You know, well, some of them have remedied themselves.
Practice, right.
Right, but the point is, the fact that public sector entities were so lacking in safety culture speaks volumes. And we are working with all and sundry to correct that, to ensure that people can have safe workspace,
Right.
to ensure people can go home safe every evening. You know, places like hospitals. People don't even understand how much danger lurk at hospitals. You know? So, whilst we focus on the mining pits
Yes.
and the collapse, that is a tragedy, believe me, in the midst of us, we have things that can
Very unhealthy
become
practices.
greater tragedy in my view. And we have had such an experience not so long ago up the road at the Gold Board.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that from a personal standpoint because my granddaughter, the first job from school, and she had to be taking some big pills like this
Yeah.
because of contamination
yeah.
of mercury.
Yeah.
And she was at a lower level. People were at whatever 30 odd and 40 odd and whatever number, how they graded. And there are allegations that people might have died from mercury poisoning. So we have had that experience. We are in the midst of us. There lie these dangers that we have to correct, and we have to correct it like yesterday.
Okay. Okay. There is another aspect of your job too, which will, which the money will go, a whole chunk of it will go towards. And this is the collaboration, the work that you have to do with other ministries as it relates to edification and making sure that the proper systems and practices are put in place. And amongst them would be human services and sport as well. Let's talk a little bit about
Yes. If you, the budget speaks to some collaborative activity that must be done with ministries. Because we don't want to run over each other. We don't want to be competing. We need to complement each other. And therefore recognizing that via BIT at Labor, you do training. Ministry of Human Services, they do training, primarily for females and so. Youth and sports, they have training centers. Kuru Cooperative College come under them. They have one at Coldigen. And so we will put together this framework. Also the Ministry of Education, because all the training centers, technical institutes come under them. So we have to work together to ensure that the money spent, the output, contributes. I don't think presently that is so, based on my evidence and my experiences. We are doing a lot of training. But we are training without understanding what we need to train.
The needs are, yeah.
And that is the first thing we have to understand, how many of what we need
Yes.
presently and in the new economies that will come. And therefore, we have a conference where everyone will gather to discuss this matter and to come up with a national plan. Whilst all of that is happening, we are moving forward in setting up joint technical committees, interministerial joint technical committees, to discuss the matter. The ministers at the level of policy, we are already agreed. All we have to do is to put our technical people together, that they can fashion how they cooperate, how they collaborate, to ensure that if somebody is in the Pomeroon doing a skill training, one of the ministries, all three of us should not be in there.
Correct.
It makes no sense. We complement and supplement the other person who's already there. And that is the intention of the collaboration that we need to do. Importantly, we have to do this project in conjunction with the Ministry of Education. You know, our bright young people who are coming out of secondary schools are unprepared for the world of work. Unprepared. And we have done them an injustice. We just take it to mean that because they are 15 and 12 CXCs, they're ready for work. They're not. So we will do a joint program with the Ministry of Education where we go into schools via the Central Recruitment and Manpower Agency. That is a department of the ministry that deal with job and vacancies and employment and so on. And prepare these young people for the world of work. I have received several applications, my friend, where people didn't sign it. They didn't know that an application without a signature is not an application. Some people, the CV is the top is at the bottom is at the top. And so we have to go into these secondary schools and have a conversation with the sixth form students and the students who are about and finish writing CXC and so. that we prepare
absolutely
them to
necessary.
go into
Yeah.
the world of work.
Yes, absolutely necessary. So we touch on occupational health and safety, which benefits will benefit the people directly from 9 to 30 officers, 2 in each region, which is a way forward. The people will benefit from that. Training, of course, at the BIT, and there's also the collaboration. I wanted to spend the last few minutes, Minister, on something that I know that you've been passionate about. We have had conversations on this, and it's really the status quo of co-ops. The need to regularize many of these co-ops where people are being fleeced over the years.
I'm glad you raised that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guyana is unaware of the asset base of cooperatives in this country. I'm talking about tens of billions of dollars. I'm talking about tens of thousands of acres of land. And we give it a pass. And therefore, you have people there who are not working in the interest of the community, who have taken over these bodies, and they run it like it's their own private entity. That I will bring to an end. We will launch an integrity audit of all the cooperatives in this country. On the books, presently they have, I think, 512.
Wow.
In my view, half of those really are non-co-ops, but they have asset base and that kind of thing. And when the audit is finished, I will hold engagement in the regions and a national engagement. And then we strike off all of those that will die because some cannot live. And importantly, the law allows for once you strike out a co-op, all the assets properly come under the supervision of the Department of Co-ops. So we can utilize this asset that people are utilizing privately to help to develop the co-ops. That means well, to give training to people. Because a lot of the co-ops fail not because they don't have money. It is management of the co-ops. A co-op might be an agricultural co-op. Planting, reaping is just the first stage of the project. You have to have training in marketing. How do the products get to the market? And that is lacking. So we have to bring an end to all of these non-co-ops where people take it as a personal property, and then we strengthen and form up the co-ops. I've gone around the country speaking to co-ops and making a point. I believe co-ops should be doing scholarship programs for people in communities. I believe co-ops should be doing bursaries for people's children in communities. And that is where we have to go, because co-ops, they have a lot of latitude to do things. But we have to retool co-ops. And for the information of the public, one of the most richest countries in this world, Switzerland, their foundation and basis
Co-op, yes.
is via the co-op movement. Many of the prominent states in the United States, that is their foundation. So people give a short shift here to co-ops. Why you want to ensure that co-ops can properly contribute to communities, they can properly help to develop communities, and that is the engagement I'm having around the country with co-ops, and to help them, those that are stuttering, who means well, we will help them to fashion themselves and to strengthen themselves, and those that don't mean well at all, we will bring them to an end. Importantly, also attached to corporate credit unions. Again, the Guyana will be shocked about the asset base of credit union. I'm talking about billions of dollars here, cash plus assets. The question is, what have they been doing with the people's money? People are excluded. That will change. That I have already indicated that. Look, I've said to the Guyana Public Service Union Co-op, that is now run by an interim management committee, I've extended their life, and we hope that they have their AGM in March to elect office bearers. And I've said to them, listen, understand me clearly and lucidly. If the new executive that comes in there, they think they could mismanage the people's money, I will take it back the next week and put in IMC.
Because people are suffering.
Because people are suffering. People are not getting their benefit.
Right.
We had to take over the transport co-op.
The credit union.
The credit union, sorry. $250 million, that small entity. And we have had several issues there. people had $4.9 million in some bag in the office, unaccounted for. Somebody had written checks to themselves. Some of the stories I can talk till in the morning. But the point is that all of that will change. And I'm saying publicly to people so that when I do these things through the chief co-op officer, people wouldn't say they didn't know. I am saying the watchword of co-ops and credit union would be accountability and transparency.
That's right.
If you can't do that, you would not exist. Because people are suffering, people are not getting the benefits from these entities that they should.
And they were designed to do just
yes,
that.
That's
why they were designed.
Right, that is why they were designed.
Right. Minister Hamilton, I tell you what, I think we've just touched on everything that we've got, and we are out of time. So just to recap, we've touched on co-ops, which is the last thing we talked about, and how it's going to benefit the people. The collaborative process with the ministries as well. This will go directly to the people. The training, of course, the Board of Industrial Training, and the fact that you have increased the numbers that is, and as well as occupational health and safety. The fact that all should benefit, both private and public agencies, and even government ministries as well. You're touching down. It's good that you're coming with a brush that none will be excluded. Thank you so much, Minister. It was my pleasure having you.
Thank you very much for having me here.
We wish you all the best as you continue. We know you're getting ready for the budget debate, and that will be interesting as well.
That will be delightful as the word.
Minister of Labour there, touching down with us, Minister Joseph Hamilton, Minister of Labour, talking about his allotment, $900 million. From this year's budget, but as well as to what are some of the things that will benefit from it and what we hope to see from it. Again, it was my pleasure.
Thank you again.
And until our next program, I'm Mark Watson. Thank you and goodbye.